Well, it's the first Sunday after lockdown. Last Sunday we were able to do a church service outside as it was the Remembrance Sunday. But this Sunday, as a church organist, no churches. So instead of church, we'll go back to Sierra Hotel 1 Tango set Sunday. So here is a dusty Sierra Hotel 1 Tango set. It's a Eurosonic GT858. We've covered the 868 version of this, and of course we've covered the 858 quite a few times before with other labels. Mark has already labelled this as not working, so he's been through it. He will have powered that up to what's left of it to power up. I can see we've got a wire grinning which probably went to a loudspeaker as well. So it looks to me like a Eurochronic Eurosonic. Are there any screws in the lid? No, there aren't. Will I need to put the soldering iron on? I'd better have to, yes. Ooh, ah. Well, at least there's a loudspeaker in there. I'll put these lids through the company dishwasher, having removed the speaker first, of course. And seeing as there's no screws in that lid either. Oh, look at that. What's the cardboard for? It's somebody's slide mount cardboard. Oh, it's to stop the bolts going into the printed circuit board. Well, I can see soldering around the audio IC, whether or not that's been replaced at some time or whether it's just that it's not flow soldered at the factory and done by hand. I can see some... Yeah, the printed circuit board is cracked. The radio has been dropped and the printed circuit board is cracked. Where it's cracked has been repaired, and that might be adequate. Now, this being the bottom of the range model, it doesn't even have the luxury of an extension speaker socket. I've said before, these are a 3.5 watt radio, and according to the service manual, anything over 1.7 watts is acceptable as an RF output. I have seen them do 4 watts. Not necessarily this particular version. And one of the other things to watch is the resistor, which is down there, which can go open circuit, and that looks like it's been replaced on this set, and that can be one of those things caused by a high SWR. So the first thing we're going to have to do, actually I think the first thing we're going to do is take the front off, take the knobs off, put the whole case in the dishwasher, and we'll work on it without the knobs or the front on. And then the first thing we're going to do is to make a microphone suitable to the pin out, which is unique to the Great chassis. Yeah, these are made by a company called Great in Taiwan, and the Great word is no reflection of how well these work, because that's why we've chosen it for Sierra Hotel 1 Tango Sunday. That said, they're now 39 years old, and not all sets have survived, especially some of the more expensive ones, which were very susceptible to dry joints, like the Shogun and the Grandstand, Base Station and Gemini. So pop those knobs off, at least it's got the knobs. You know, some of the new sets ought to be featured on Sierra Hotel 1 Tango Sunday, but of course until we actually do them and find out how abysmal they actually work, we can't prejudge them, can we? So at this point we'll just pop this off and then we'll pause the video, and I'll also do the power lead. I'm not going to put it through a grommet because this set may end up being a scrap set. We may not be able to fix it. I don't want to go to the trouble of locating a grommet off a scrap set to do it, and then finding we've got to scrap this one as well. This radio will have come in with a batch of stuff, because occasionally we buy, you know, a box of radios, or we get given boxes of radios, and there's usually a great chassis set amongst the dregs. You can see a couple of GT858s, that's the 4-knob version on the shelf, but I thought we'd do the lowliest. So there we are, we've got it. Probably have to go in there to set the frequency. So I'll pause the video and I'll get on with a few of those tasks. Okay, so go back into record, and we now have a power lead, fuse holder, and that's just loosely in case the radio is not repairable. At least I could use it on another set then. The meter lights up. It was last on 21, yes, so it's now on 20. So I've done a mic. We'll switch picture in picture on, and hopefully the test set I'll need to plug in, won't I? Somebody put a comment that every time I do a one with a red sticker which says Mark's checked it and it needs repair, they've always worked. So let's see whether this is the case today. So on the 3-watt range we're getting 2.8 watts, so there we are, and the frequency is slightly out at 27,79139, it should be 125. So it certainly transmits. Let's look at deviation. Wallow, he's actually spot on, 2.2 to 2.5. So certainly receives. Because it may be that Mark put a red sticker on because there was no power lead, and you know it did have to be engineered. So I'll just open up that can. I'll turn the set off first. Bend those lugs back. Which is why we have the angled pliers, and hopefully that will come off. And then it's time to dig out the Fidelity 1000 manual so we can work on the radio. And that isn't far away. So what I just want to do is make sure we're setting the frequency. You know what's happened, don't you? My sheet of notes isn't in the manual. So where's, oh, it's there, that's why. I'm going to say there's a right pile of notes. So unless I do with these every day, we're going to forget. So frequency, I think it's CT 201. Yeah, CT 201. It needs to be a bit clearer on here. So if I move the camera across, we need to trim that for 27,79125. We don't get closer than that. Don't often do that. I won't put the lid on yet in case something else is slightly out, because they normally drop with age, and the fact it's a bit high tells me it might have been adjusted. But it might have been adjusted rather than with a screwdriver expert, shall we say, done properly in inverted commas. So let's go through the transmitter lineup. It'd be nice if we can get more than 2.7 watts out of it, though that would be acceptable. So the transmit strip starts with 207, goes down to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we don't touch where fitted. It's not fitted on this one. We don't touch 11 if it's in, because it's the 54 megs trap, which needs to be done with a spectrum analyzer, but there isn't one on this set. So we'll just go through that. So we'll start off on the 3 watt range, because we're not quite at 3 watts, and I can still, it's easier to see the 3 watt range, and it is 207 L4. Where's 207? Oh, there's 207. Now I've actually gained a bit there, so that's a good start. And I've gained a bit there. I think somebody's tweaked this down. That was spot on. That was spot on. Gained a fraction there. Gained a fraction there. So we're now at 3 watts. Move to the hexagonal tool. So that's it. It's 3 watts. Put it on the other scale. It says about 2.8. Put it on the 3 watt scale. It does 3 watts. So yeah, it's about as bad as the latest model, isn't it? But that's how it is. Anything over 1.7 watts is acceptable. So 3 watts is certainly acceptable. They are a 3.5 watt set. Remember that they're not a 4 watt radio, but occasionally you find one which will do that. Right, deviation. Well, it looked like it was spot on from that little investigation I did initially, so let's just have a look at that. Wallow. Yeah, it is, it's spot on. 1, 2, 1, 2. If we'd have needed to do the deviation, it's the preset just there. And what preset number is it? SVR3. So whilst we're dealing with the transmitter, unlike new sets, it has a real RF meter, or a relative RF meter, and it doesn't matter what power output it's doing, we always set the meter as if it's doing a full 4 watts. I know it sounds like a pile of lies, but customers like to see meters that swing across. So it says in the service manual to set it between the red zone center, so we'll do that with SVR4. Hopefully that's on camera. So there we are, center of the red zone. So psychologically it's whacking it out even though it's doing 3 watts. We'll check low power, but it's not adjustable. I'll just pop the camera back onto the meter. So on the 3 watt range on this test set, full scale deflection obviously is 3 watts, 1 watt, 0.5 of a watt, so 0.4 would be there, and this radio is doing 0.15. No, it's just doing a fraction under 2. So it's not adjustable. That's within spec, so that's fine. Even though it's half what it should be, it's still within spec. So that's low power. Well, so far so good. So we're now going to have to connect the test equipment using a crocodile clip. This is where the fun starts. So if you've been following these, the correct method is with a sweep generator, but we've managed to come up with a method using the synad meter, which is more accurate and saves a lot of time. I've previously done it with the sweep generator on the Fidelity 1000 a few years ago, and it might be well worth watching if you want to see it done as the manual says. But it was a time, 1981, when there weren't synad meters around. Don't say we had a Motorola one in 1960 something or other. You probably did, but I'm talking about from a UK point of view. So, can we hear anything? There may be no audio. Yeah, we can actually. We've got a noisy volume control, so I'll just get the Servicol cleaner on that. We'll do the Squelch control at the same time. These are of a type that you can clean, unlike some sets. So we've got quite low audio. It's as if the mic's not connected. It might be that we need to have a negative as well. Some sets you do. And on this case, it needs the negative connecting as well. I'll just have to go to Mr. Chippie's bench and pinch a crocodile clip lead while he's not watching. Okay, so that's now got us connected up. So we'll go over to the synad meter. I could show you the oscilloscope as well, but it's mainly with the synad meter, so that's where we'll have it. Right, let's have a start then. So that's S9 at the moment. So while we've got S9, we may as well set the meter. Does it read anything? No, it doesn't. So with SVR2, we actually get nothing, virtually nothing, so something's not even letting us set the meter up. Okay. So S9, no, this is deaf as a post. Absolutely as deaf as a post. So S7 is about what you're hearing at the moment, 30 microvolts. Let's hope we can sort that out and it isn't a component problem. So L1, L2, L3, having little effect. T1, T2, T3, Now these detector ones, yeah, he's had the detector screwed up. Yeah, they're just not like a normal set. We're down to 1 microvolt, so that's a bit more like it. It's still not good enough because they are capable of quite good sensitivity, which is actually their downfall with the bleed over. So we'll just go back on these. Yeah. We'll have those for maximum noise at the moment. No, I need to go back a bit. We're now at 1 microvolt and it's starting to sound decent. We'll just go through the front end again. Just put a bit more signal on. Right, let's try that. Okay, so I've been through that backwards and forwards meticulously, and I've also just about to set, well, I'm about to just set S9 on the meter. So there we have the meter showing, changes glasses. That's just about on 9 as it is. So with T5, we'll get that in the centre of that zone. And as we turn the signal generator down, that's dropping off. As we turn it up, it goes up. So that's about where we should be. Remember, the audio output on these radios is only 1.5 watts. So if you've got a noisy vehicle, it isn't a suitable set because you can't plug in an extension speaker. So yes, that's why we're doing it on Sierra Hotel 1 Tango Sunday, because that's how they are. You know, diode 5 can fail on these and cause the meter not to read properly, and initially this was so bad on the alignment that I thought that's what had happened, but that isn't the case and it's fine. So I mentioned that resistor that can fail. We also mention diode 5 wherever it is. So with that, I'll put the lid back on. I'll turn the radio off, but I'll put the lid back on the VCO can. It's good practice to solder these on the edge because you can end up with microphony. Just scrape it clean there. And we haven't got the soldering iron on. And I reckon by the time we've done this, the dishwasher will have done washing the lids. If you live in a rural area like I do, these radios work fine, but don't even contemplate one if you're in a city with plenty of CB users, because they really are a bleed over box. And that goes for all the ones which use this chassis. That clearly isn't clean enough. Right, that's soldered that up. Right, we'll look at the Squelch. Now the Squelch is AM on this FM radio. It has its own AM detector to do the Squelch. So I think they were so used to making AM sets for the United States that they couldn't think how to do an FM Squelch. It makes you wonder. Right. So the other preset is Squelch. I'm going to start by putting the radio to full Squelch and putting the signal generator to 100 microvolts. And that's coming exactly where we want it. So I'm not going to touch it. And then at the lower end, we'll switch the signal generator off, set the Squelch to threshold, switch the signal generator back on, parks at 0.3 of a microvolt, and it's come straight in. To give an accurate reading for you, it's disappearing off at 0.28 of a microvolt, and it's coming in at 0.35 of a microvolt. So that's a useful squelch. I haven't had to adjust it, but just for the record, it's SVR1. That's the only thing I haven't had to adjust on this very screwed up radio. So I'm going to have a word with the dishwasher and see whether it has finished washing the case as we put that service manual back for next week, and pause the video. Right, so we finally got a speaker in there because I found the speaker was open circuit, and we were kindly given some speakers by somebody, and that's one we've now used. So we want to do a cyanide reading on this radio. So once again we need to couple the cyanide meter to the speaker, remembering this radio doesn't have an extension speaker socket, making this kind of test quite inconvenient. So hopefully that's the negative. That ball of solder doesn't want to be there. Okay, I don't think we've done cyanide on an 858 before. So it's Eurosonic GT858. So we'll do 20 dB cyanide, 12 dB cyanide, which is the industry standard, and 10 dB cyanide, which is the cheeky one. The manufacturer says the radio will work at better than 1 microvolts. Well, that's 1 microvolt, it's working. They give no cyanide reading, they just say it will receive at 1 microvolt. Well, it does. So now we'll move over to those cyanide readings, and we actually have what for 20 dB. Just make sure my picture is on. It is. So for 20 dB we are getting, well, 0.6 of a microvolt. For 12 dB you have to change scales. We're getting 0.29 of a microvolt. Just move that camera across slightly. And then for 10 decibel we're getting 0.27 of microvolt. Doesn't make much difference. So there we go. That's very good. But of course we do know these are bleed over boxes. And the proof of the pudding will be in the eating when we do a scratchy corner test with later on with Mr. C. So something I know I'm going to need is 8 case screws, seeing as this came with none. Looks like we've got gaffer tape remains on there. I could probably get that off with some isopropyl alcohol. I'm always putting these on the wrong way, aren't I? I won't be putting the piece of cardboard back in, and I won't be filling the screw holes in, because it's all part of its history. And at the end of the day, it's a cheap and cheerful radio. So we'll pause the video once again. No, we won't. We'll let it run and I'll edit it out. And we'll put some case screws in the radio. So there we have it, one well used GT858. Let's put it on the aerial. Turn the signal generator off. Switch the picture-in-picture off. Switch the other test equipment off. And listen to all 40 channels on one.
There you go. Someone straight over the top of you then. Rude, isn't it?
19, Roger. Expect he's on some burner somewhere. Okay then, so that's the Sierra Hotel 1 Tango set Sunday set, and it's certainly a Sierra Hotel 1 Tango radio. So we'll do an on-the-air test later on, and thank you for watching the Eurosonic GT858 from 1981.
Oh, North Wickham, good start, man. How far are you going then?